Hello, and once again, welcome to the 2016 Taking Back Your Life's Google Hangout series. My name is Clark Garrison, and many of you know I am the host of The Conversation, the world's best online talk radio show. A little biased. We've been around since, I don't know how many years. It's been since 2009 we first started. More recently, I wanted to do this Google Hangout series to talk to individuals, some I know, some are meeting for the first time, and about how to become a better you. And I wanted to do it from a point of view that is not common, that's not traditional. So we've covered things that are both metaphysical, spiritual, holistic, universal laws, you name it. Out of the box thinking is what I like to call it. And tonight is no different. Our guest tonight is an author, a fitness expert, yoga practitioner, and the co-founder of the Aerobics, Yoga, and More fitness programs, which feature retreats, various training regimens, workshops, just to name a few. Please welcome my fellow alum, Miss Althea Lawton-Thompson in the house. Hey, what's going on?
Clark, you are so sweet. Thank you for having me on the show tonight, and I'm excited to be with a fellow Rattler.
Well, as I told you off camera when a couple of weeks ago when we booked this, when I thought of yoga, I had been spotting you around social media, and I remember you from a lot of fam viewers. I always talk about you in fitness and all of that, and I had to have you on, so I was very excited when you accepted.
Oh, I appreciate that. And it's good to be on the show. You're doing a lot of great things. So this is something important for me to do as well.
Well, and that's why I wanted to do it, is really to go down what I like to call, and people will hear me say it time in and time out, the rabbit hole, to answer the questions that most people won't even ask themselves of. So let's just start from the beginning so people get a rough idea of who Althea is, and how did the art of yoga find you?
That's interesting. It's an interesting question. This year marks the 20-year journey of my being an entrepreneur. I left corporate America in 1996. It was actually this month, April of 1996, was laid off and started doing fitness. And it was traditional fitness at that time, aerobics and personal training and boot camp style workouts. And I got pregnant in 1997 and started using yoga personally to have a really strong, healthy, spiritual, peaceful pregnancy. It helped me all the way through the labor of a 9.8 pound baby. And it was a really joyful experience. So I think if yoga can help with that, then it's something that should be a part of life. And the journey has just been phenomenal. The last 2 years have probably been the best in that the yoga really came off the mat. And I know we'll talk about that a little bit more, and has truly become a lifestyle. It's not something that's just done for 30 minutes or an hour on a mat full of asana, the Sanskrit word for poses, but really the way I eat, I sleep, I breathe, I think. I'm even sitting outside at night. I mean, it's just how it is. So I think that's where it all started.
So for those who think they know and those who have no clue, just tell us what yoga is.
That question is so loaded, and I'm actually scared to answer it. It has transitioned quite a bit here in the United States over maybe the last 20 to 30 years. What most people probably think about yoga is being super flexible, maybe going into different poses that will improve strength, flexibility, focus, balance, agility, done on a mat, on a yoga mat, with breath work, very focused breath work. And that's probably the best way to define it. There are a lot of different styles, and the different styles speak to what the practitioner is trying to accomplish. I mentioned strength and flexibility. Strength might be more of a power yoga. People who want to sweat, want to get strong, want to see that ripped body, they're going to go more toward a physical style of yoga. Whereas somebody that might be new to the form, or they just want to get more flexible, more grounded, mentally focused, they might try a traditional hatha yoga class. And that moves a little bit slower. You're really paying attention. I like to call it mindful movement. And you're paying attention to when you breathe in and your posture during that time, when you exhale and what's happening to the body in the exhale. So yoga really, at least for where we are in the United States, if most of your viewers are here in the US, it's simply mindful movement.
And I'm just curious, is there one that, and I know you just, and I don't want to belabor what you just said, but is there one that maybe fits a beginner better than maybe others?
Yeah, that's a great question. Hatha yoga for sure is great for beginners. There's another style called Anusara, Anusara. That's a very beginner-friendly style in that it allows the individual, the practitioner, to be where they are, to really pay attention and say, you know, I'm not being nice to my body right now. That hurts. Let me pull back a little bit. Let me do less. Very, very little competition in that. And when I say competition, I don't mean with other people. It's almost with yourself, with the individual. You think, I should be able to go further. Why can't I? And you're looking around at other people. Anusara is not really that style. It's very gentle. So I would say a hatha or an Anusara is a great way to start.
So I'm trying not to ask these broad-based general questions, but I got to start us out in this, and then we'll kind of get to more specifics. But another kind of broad-based question is, what are some general obvious benefits of yoga? And right after that, if you could talk to us about one benefits that may not be so obvious that one benefits from the practicing of yoga.
I think this is a really great question. And since you started the whole thing with asking me, how did I even get started in it? The first benefit I noticed was being very, very aware of the physical body. I work with clients one-on-one. I teach group classes 4 days a week. I've been doing this for teaching yoga about 17 years. And one of the things that's always interesting is how unaware people are of their body. If you ask someone, what are you feeling? Where does that hurt? They have to really think about it and say, I don't know where that hurts. And you tell them to point to it and they can't really point to it. Yoga helps you to be suddenly very, very aware of, that is my left inner thigh that's hurting, and it's hurting when I do this. In order to stretch out my back, I have to pull my shoulders down, stick my chest out, and lift my chin up. It sounds very simple, but not everyone can feel and be aware of how to stretch out the chest and contract the back, or how to do just the opposite movement, how to stretch the inner thigh. What's the difference between a stretch and a contraction? All most people know is that they can feel it. Oh, I feel that in my butt. Well, what do you feel? I don't know, but I feel something. So yoga kind of makes you aware. You're suddenly very aware. The second really great general benefit is stress reduction. There's no way around it. Because yoga is so grounded in focused breathing, being aware of how you inhale and exhaling to completion, allowing the shoulders to relax, letting the tension go in the neck, even in the jawline, even along the face and in the forehead, around the eyebrows, you can't help but to reduce stress. If most of us listening, you and I talking together, think about the last time we were angry, most likely the shoulders were up near the ears, the head was hunched forward, the shoulders and neck were tight. As soon as somebody says, hey, just breathe, calm down, and you go, it's that exhale that causes the release of tension throughout the upper body. So I think the second biggest general benefit is stress reduction, tension release, and just feeling better. Things that we think are taking us over the edge, over the brink, it's not so bad once we get into that breathing. So those would be the two general ones. Some of the things that I don't think people are aware of until later, focus. Focus definitely improves with yoga. And the question is why? When someone is trying to do a move, an asana, a pose in yoga that is new to the body, new to the brain, and you have to think about what you're doing, There's no time to wonder, did I turn off the stove before I left the house? Did somebody walk the dog? Uh-oh. You don't have time to think about, I can't believe she said that to me earlier today. I wonder if I'm going to be out of gas when I get home. I don't feel like driving in traffic. There's no room for that, because all you can think about is, this hurts. I don't know where. Why is it hurting? Let me pull back. I have to breathe. My shoulders down, my neck up, my head turned, my eyes open. That's on purpose. People think that that's too much of a challenge. Oh, I don't want to do that. But it's on purpose, because it's focusing or forcing the individual to focus so much on posture, breath, gaze. What do I feel? You can't think about anything else. So when you come off the mat, and now there's suddenly something to think about at work, with a project, starting a new business, dealing with a problem individual, a relationship issue, finance, those same techniques, naturally the brain, it just kicks in and it does it. Let me focus, let me put everything else out, and let's go through this piece by piece. Just like, how am I breathing?
I love your answers, because they are answers that everyone can get, right? You're speaking to the common everyday soul, and I love that. And so, did we lose you? Well, I'm sure she'll come back. So if you're just tuning in, we are talking to Althea Lawton-Thompson, and the subject is, as you might guess, those who know Miss Althea, yoga. And we're going down all facets of yoga. When should you start? What are the benefits? How do you get better? What are the types of yoga? What are the hidden benefits? How do you transition yoga into becoming a way of life, where it essentially takes, I guess it is. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, it just signed me out. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Yoga teaches us to just go with the flow.
That's how we do it over here, especially with the awesome backdrop you got. I mean, I'm feeling
I don't know if you can see it anymore. The moon is out over there. I should turn so y'all can see the sky.
And start doing some poses in a few minutes. I was going down. Okay, so you mentioned something about becoming aware of your physical body, and I was wondering, that process sounds a lot like mindfulness. Is that
absolutely
what happens?
Absolutely, and that's why I called yoga mindful movement. That's what it is. You're moving in yoga practice, but when you're not doing the quote unquote yoga practice or asana movement, you're being mindful all the time. And when I say being mindful, you're being mindful of your actions, your reactions, your interactions. You're being mindful of why you're about to say what you're going to say. Is it habit? Is it what you really want to say or do? You're being so thoughtful that before you make a move out of habit or upbringing or background, you're thinking, this may not feel good to me. Not on the physical level, not on the skin level, but inside where the spirit resides, where your energy is. And it says, I really don't want to do that. That wouldn't bring me joy. Or I definitely want to do that, even though I've never done it before and I'm scared, but I think it's going to bring me joy on the other side. And that's the mindfulness part of yoga.
So we know yoga's been around since antiquity.
Yes, thousands of years.
But it has evolved over the years.
It has.
Especially when the Western world gets anything.
Absolutely.
We got to put our spin on it. But here's something that fascinates me. As much as you've listed the many benefits, why is it you think, in your opinion, that more women practice yoga than men traditionally here in the West? I know that's not necessarily the case around the world, but here in the United States, it tends to be, if you go into any yoga class, it's going to be 1/4 men, 3/4 women, almost everywhere you go.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct. And let's talk about it historically. Historically, you did not see women. And when I say historically, I mean in India 4,000 years ago. I'm talking about in the very beginning.
Okay.
It was a practice for men. This is what men did, and women did not practice it. When we talk about Buddhism coming along and the Buddha and trying to figure his walk in life, for anyone that's kind of studied the history of the Buddha, he tried yoga and he tried Sikhism and abstinence, and he tried everything. And even at that time, it was nothing but men doing it. So what is so interesting is that we have lots of women doing the poses, but the traditional original poses that worked for a man's anatomy and kinesiology, biomechanics, the way the hips are, the chest, the way weight is distributed, it really doesn't work on a woman's body, all of the poses. And
Wow.
that's why I think we see such a transition in what poses are done today versus what original poses were around before we added all the gymnastics and the jumping around and all the 15 different names, and we've monetized it. But I mean, if we just look at the traditional historic poses, they just wouldn't have worked on a woman's body like that. So that's just a bit of history that's really interesting. I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna say I think ego has something to do with it. I think ego has something to do with it. Women gravitate to one another, and we're a lot more open about showing emotions and feelings. We will say, I'm scared about this. I'm nervous. I'm excited. We'll cry. We'll laugh. We'll scream. We'll all be together giggling. It's rare that we see men doing that. And I don't think too many men are comfortable being the only one or one of only a few in a room full of women that may be able to do something better than they can, or they know it. They've been doing it longer. And I just think that makes a big difference. Geographically, though, here in the United States, you'll find that there's certain places where there's a lot of men in the class. I think if we're on the West Coast in California, I think a lot of the studios up in New York, New Jersey, you might see something a little bit different than what we see. We're here in Atlanta, down here in the South, for sure. Definitely in the South. You're just not going to see it as much. And again, I think it has something to do with the geography, how we're brought up, background, social mores, our belief systems. And while I'm talking about that, even religion has something to do with that. You know, when I first moved here to Atlanta in 2005, it was amazing how many people would call my studio and ask, is yoga going to be against my Christian religion? And at one point, we just had to stop calling it yoga so we could get people to come to the class. So it became Soul Stretch. And when we called the class Soul Stretch, we actually got men to come, as well as a lot of people from different religious backgrounds.
Wow.
So I think there's a lot of things that come into play, not just gender. I think age has a lot to do with it. The type of class will bring in a certain age group. What happens in a downtown city is going to be different than what happens in the suburbs. I personally will not teach in downtown Atlanta because I'm not going to teach the stand on your head and twist your legs and, you know, compete with the other 50 people in the room. I'm not going to teach that.
Right.
So, you know, it's just so many things that go into it.
Right. How have you seen the progress or the notoriety within our own culture, with the African American community? How have we picked up yoga that you've seen over the past decade?
It is awesome. It's truly awesome. For people that are on Facebook, there are huge yoga communities specifically for people of color, from the African diaspora, African Americans. There is a huge Black movement on other continents. There's a huge group of yoga practitioners in different countries in Africa. It's amazing what's happening in South Africa, which is why I'm doing this cultural retreat there, just because there's so many people now that are really getting involved in it. There is a style of yoga called Kemetic yoga. Yasir is the founder of Kemetic yoga. He's based out of Chicago, an African-American brother, been doing yoga for well over 20 years, maybe 30 years. And Kemetic yoga is based off of Egyptian poses. So the pictures that we see of the kings and the queens and, just the people in general, when you see paintings on a wall or even with some of the hieroglyphs, in their hands and adorning them, those are now poses that are fused into traditional yoga. And the Kemetic yoga experience has come here to Atlanta over the last 5 years. And Yasir has been certifying instructors. I'm one of the people certified in that style. And I would hazard to say we probably have about 100 instructors in Atlanta alone.
Wow.
That style of yoga. And the classes that we took 2 years ago, it was nothing but people of color in there. So I know that the movement is growing. And what's so wonderful is we are taking it off the mat. We are the ones that understand that balance of mindfulness, and letting it permeate every part of living, the way we eat, the way we cleanse ourselves, the way we relate to spouses, mates, children, elders. A lot of it is just based on a yogic style of living.
So you're going in the right direction where I was going to lead the questioning, which is taking it and making yoga, or I don't even want to say making it. I think it's a transition if I'm correct. And I'm a novice at yoga. I started about 1.5 years ago.
Great.
And I absolutely, I hated it at first. But then, a funny thing happened. I kind of accidentally realized I was getting better in other areas. Like,
absolutely.
Not necessarily in yoga, right? Like, I think I still sucked at it, but I was a little more, my breathing became longer. I was a lot more calm when kids would drop and break things. It was like weird, like, wow.
Exactly.
And then I started to get more into it. And I think that is probably why a lot of men, if they have some pushback, it is because traditionally at first the moves are very hard for us because
it's challenging.
Right. Because we tend to spend our early years doing a lot of weightlifting, which makes us tight and not necessarily agile. And then, so we get, like you said, we get into these situations where we try and we look crazy. And we're like, I'm not doing that anymore. And we move on. But we needed probably the most is all the stress that African-American men be around. But anyway, I digress.
Absolutely.
So I'm trying to ask this question in segments because I want to chop it up, because the transitioning off the mat and into a way of life, to me, seems like it would be subtle steps, not just one day, hey, you know what? I'm just going to, do all this stuff and it's going to be how I live. What does that process look like if you could try to define it in a way?
Learning how to play the piano.
I like that. I can relate to that. I'm a musician.
There you go. So anyone who has never played piano does not sit down and start playing Chopin and Beethoven. They just don't do that. They have to learn right hand. They have to learn left hand. They have to learn the scales. They have to learn sharps and flats. They have to learn how to play left hand and right hand together. Every scale, sharps and flats, thumb under third finger. It takes a while to get that rhythm into your fingers physically, where your brain stops having to think and it flows. It becomes natural. The posture of the wrist, the placement of the fingertips, and then suddenly there's a rhythm and it makes sense and it's music. Yoga is no different than that. You don't get on the mat and start playing Beethoven. You have to do right foot, left foot, get my hands with my feet, feel my breathing, find that rhythm. Today, the posture didn't look so good. Tomorrow's another day. It is no different.
Do you find that when do people, is there a attrition rate with yoga? Do you see people dropping out too soon? Like, I notice in many things in life, people will quit right before they're about to have a breakthrough.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go somewhere now, and I'm going to talk a little bit about instruction and instructors. You asked about how yoga has changed for people of color in maybe the last decade and how it is here in the United States. And money plays a big part in what yoga is throughout the world, but especially here in the US. And because money plays a part, because now yoga is big business, we find that instructors are different today than they were maybe a decade ago, 20 years ago. A decade ago, 20 years ago, you apprenticed with a master yogi or yogini, yogi for male, yogini for female. You learned, you had your theoretical learning, you had to practice on the mat, and then you apprentice with another teacher, co-teaching a class, working one-on-one, and then after maybe a year to 2 years, you began teaching. So even though I started taking yoga in 1997, I didn't do the certification until 98, and I didn't really start teaching classes until 99 because I just needed to get all of that foundation and grow. Now, someone could pay a fee and get 200 hours of education, and they're a 200-hour teacher certified and, in the Yoga Alliance directory. If I did not want to pay that money to take a class, I couldn't get in the Yoga Alliance directory. Because you can't have years of experience. You have to take a 200-hour class. And so for about 5 years, I fought the system. I was bucking the system. But I found that I couldn't lead classes in certain places because I didn't have the certification. So now let's come back to your question with attrition and people dropping out. If you have a teacher that doesn't have a really good understanding of anatomy, kinesiology, the biomechanics of a woman versus a man, someone with a hip replacement, someone with a knee that needs to be replaced, but it hasn't yet, fallen arches, obesity, pregnant. They have no idea how to teach poses, physical poses with giving those different options to people so everyone can feel successful. And I think that has a lot to do with why people may not stick with a program. And you really can't tell if a teacher is good or bad until you go to the class and go through the experience. And if you're new to yoga, you don't have anything to compare it to. You don't really know. So I think just like with a doctor, a barber, or a hairdresser, you better get a referral. Don't just walk up in there and let them start cutting your hair, Don't walk up and let them start pulling your teeth. You need to get a referral from someone. And I think the same thing works for yoga. If there's a strong teacher that has an energetic connection, they can feel what the class needs. They're paying attention. They're looking around. They're not on the mat themselves, looking at themselves in the mirror or trying to show off in a pose, but they're really saying to someone, you need to pull back a little bit. I can tell you're uncomfortable. Your knees are up. You're probably a little tight in your hips. Let me give you a pillow. Here's a bolster. Here's a blanket. This would feel better if you did that. If all of the teachers were like that, we probably wouldn't have a very high turnover in class. We would have people stick with it and keep trying. But the teaching makes a difference. And no two teachers are alike. And all the styles are different. And so somebody might go to a class because it says yoga and it's a power yoga and they think all yoga's that way. And it's not. Maybe if they went to a gentle mindful movement class or a soul stretch or Anusara, prenatal yoga, they would have a totally different experience.
Yeah, I've always been attracted. I also do Tai Chi, and I always love instructors who know or practice from how can I say a historical context.
Yes.
Like they get the meaning. They're not just technicians, right?
Right.
Who can tell you, oh, that pose doesn't look great. They understand. Like my Tai Chi instructor would tell you why you're doing this. Like
absolutely.
What, not just that your hands are this way and you look cute, but You know,
But the instructor is probably relating it to martial arts and
right.
explaining that this comes from this style of martial arts, and this is what the end result would look like if it were sped up.
Right.
You're doing it
Exactly.
slowly so that you can feel every part of the movement, and your muscle memory then exists for that movement. Yeah, I really love qigong,
Oh,
tai chi.
yeah.
And actually, I teach a nice blend of qigong and yoga together, where you can't really
Wow.
tell the difference from one art to the next, and
Mhm.
it all flows with breath. And afterwards, people just feel like they're floating. We just float right on out of there.
I've found and I want to hear your opinion on this. When you stop, it goes back to the mindfulness thing. When you stop trying to think about any one of these art forms, it's when you really start to understand them and your growth starts. Is that an accurate
That's
statement?
very accurate. There is a term, it's a Chinese term, wu wei. Wu wei. It is spelled Woowei. Wu wei. The term means trying not to try.
I love that.
It is the
Wow.
concept of not attempting anything and being in the flow. You have the desire, because without desire, there's no movement. You are proactive in whatever it is. And then once you are proactive and you've put the energy and the desire out there, now you go into the flow. Martial arts is like that. Any
Mhm.
sport, when you see, let's take Michael Jordan. When Michael Jordan was in his prime and they were three-peating with the Bulls, it was like magic to watch him on the court, right?
Right.
You could tell that it was effortless. Sometimes he wasn't even looking at the basket. He was in Uwe.
Mm.
Tiger Woods, Uwe, Flojo, Uwe. When someone is just naturally doing what they do, they flow with it. As soon as you come out of sync and you get frustrated and you try again, you'll find you just keep hitting bricks. You can't go fast. You get, and the more frustrated you get, the more frustrated you get. And then you start holding your breath and you tense up and you're no longer in flow. That's the opposite of Wu-Wei. So if we
Mm.
bring back the trying not to try, I'm a Star Wars fan. What does Yoda say? Try, try not. There is only do. That is Wu-Wei. So yes, I agree with that.
Oh, I love that you're a Star Wars fan. I don't even I can't control myself over here. Oh man. All right. So I'm trying not to go down, start asking Star Wars questions. All right. So um well, I gotta ask you this. Did you like the newest one? Just curious.
Gosh, I have mixed feelings. I liked it, but I'll tell you what threw me off, and I know this is going to be totally crazy. The African American lead actor
Hmm.
looked like he was in Roots. He was always scared. He was running. Oh no, they're coming to get us. Oh, oh. His eyes were always open wide. And because
Um,
I couldn't get over that, it was hard for me to really enjoy the movie. So I think if he was just not running from Master, I probably would have really gotten into, the Jedi mind tricks that were going on.
oh, I love that answer, and I'm gonna leave it right there because that is brilliant.
But
Uh,
that's all. Okay, that's all I have to say. But I did enjoy it.
I'm interested in this because the first time I heard this, so I love when I learn something new. That originally yoga poses were meant for men, um, and I'm assuming somewhere down the line they transitioned or developed or was added to. So, is it practical for men and women to do yoga at the same time together in the same class?
Absolutely. And
Okay.
I was going to mention a little bit earlier when you asked, partner yoga is phenomenal. When we talk about partner yoga, this can be two men, it can be two women, it can be man and woman. But the only thing that is necessary is that the limb length is about the same. So you don't
Okay.
want to have a really short person with a really tall person doing it.
Okay.
There is also, because yoga is energy, it's an extension of yourself to the other people in the room. It's really nice if partners do this, and I mean mates, spouses, the person you're dating, someone you're intimate with. There's a really nice energy exchange in that way as well, whether it's same gender or opposite. Um, Something about kind of placing the hands on the body and assisting in a stretch or supporting in a contraction or a strength move. Really, really nice to feel that difference from a woman's position and from a man's position. And I like to assist on both because you can feel the weight difference from a woman to a man and from a man to a woman. Really very different. And so it ends up being a nice challenge. It forces you to be mindful and aware as the partner that's supporting. But then when you let go and the other person is supporting you, then there becomes a trust element that comes into play. And again, I don't think that's gender specific. It's energy.
The first time I was made aware of what you just talked about, we are energy in motion. And I've heard that term, you hear it off and on throughout life. But the first time that I felt it was when I was really doing Tai Chi on a daily basis and had lost myself. And I literally freaked myself out because I could feel it, like not just from a spiritual point of view. I literally felt it.
The electricity of it.
Right.
Yes.
And I was heating myself up with it.
Yes, that's it.
And the second time that happened was with yoga.
Yes.
And I could not believe how much I sweated like a pig from movements that were slow. And I literally was in these
standing
poses,
still,
but transitioning.
Mm-hmm.
Is that pure energy? How would you describe that phenomenon? I mean, to a layman, that would be a phenomenon.
I do think that it's energy, but it is also physical. And I'm trying to think how to explain it. There's a breathing exercise, fire breath in yoga. It sounds like this. And I'm going to open my mouth just so you can hear it, but it's done through the nose.
Okay.
Like that. The reason that it's called fire breath is because when you breathe that quickly with your mouth closed through your nose, your abdomen goes in and out. So just try it right now. Just sit up, relax your shoulders. Everyone who's watching and listening, you have to do the same thing. I can see you. Okay. I have yoga Jedi powers and I can see you.
Sweet.
Okay. So we're sitting up, shoulders are relaxed, close your mouth, and you're just going to breathe in through the nose, out through the nose, but you're going to do it quickly and just let the natural rhythm take place. Okay, just try it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, now stop. Did you feel your abdomen moving when you did that?
Yes.
Okay, do it again. Pay attention to your abdomen.
Oh, my abdomen, not my chest. Hold on.
Right,
okay.
Your abdomen. Just think about your abdomen and do it again. Okay.
Now my abdomen is firm.
Yes. Okay. So you're breathing in your chest. You want to let go through your abdomen. So let me say something here. This is really good. Most people hold their abs tight because we're always taught to hold our abs tight. We want to look really good, right? Through the midsection. When you start doing fire breath, you have to kind of act like bellows. When you're puffing in front of the fireplace, the bellows, that's what your abdomen is doing.
Oh, wow.
So it expands, just the opposite of everything we're taught, and then it contracts. And I want you to do that right now. Don't do the breathing.
You're right. I literally was holding my abs in place and trying to breathe with my chest.
Yeah. So I could see your shoulders and your chest moving up and down and in and out. But when you're doing fire breath, your shoulders and chest kind of don't move. But if I could see your abdomen, it would be puffing in and out.
Oh, that's going to be tricky. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you're not going to do the breath. You're just going to stick your tummy out like a fat dude. Go ahead. Feel. Don't breathe yet. Don't breathe yet.
Okay. All right. It's there.
Okay.
I am
pull it in. Now pull it in. Now push it back out. Now pull it back in. And this is just the tummy. Keep doing it. Push the abs out, pull the abs in. Push the abs out, pull the abs in. So you're having to mentally, through brain work, be aware of the muscles in the abdomen, the rectus abdominis. It's really long muscles that run from under the chest all the way down to the top of the pelvis. And that's what gives the six-pack on men and women, rectus abdominis. Those are the muscles that are pulling in and releasing in this movement. The diaphragm pushes up to the lungs and it squeezes the lungs. It pushes up. So on an exhale, the diaphragm pushes up, squeezes the lungs, all the air comes out. So when you breathe in your belly, you are conditioning the rectus abdominis, the abdominal muscles, and the diaphragm. That's why the belly goes in and out. Now, we talked about heating up. Chakras. I know you've talked about chakras on your show before. Chakra 3, the element is fire. The color is yellow. It's in the solar plexus. It's above the navel. It's below the chest. It's exactly where we're talking about with fire breath. You have to be so intentionally aware of this core area, seeing yellow, seeing fire, feeling it, that as you start to breathe, you will heat up literally from that area up and out through the limbs, through the legs. And you're so aware and so focused on it that nothing else is in your space. It's all gone. The only thing you can think about is I'm breathing, I'm in rhythm, my abdomen is pumping like a bellow.
That actually feels much better. It's a more truer breath, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So in your yoga class, they're probably saying something about take a belly breath. Heard that term, belly breathing?
I have.
That's what they want you to do. They want you to let go of those tight muscles, let it expand, and then pull it in with awareness.
Wow.
And strangely enough, your abdominal muscles become more defined, and you're in more control of it.
Nice. A nice result.
Benefit. Yeah. Benefit.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. We exchanged some energy. Okay. Do you also believe that just as much as the human body or the individual can create energy and energy flow, that the entire room can?
Absolutely. I am an empath. I am clairsentient. I feel things. I feel people. I feel energy. When I walk into a yoga room, I never walk in with a plan of what I'm going to do. I wait until I walk into the room and I feel the energy of the people, because everybody is feeling something and it's interchanging with one another because we're all in the same space. And then I can feel, oh, you know what? We need to chill today. There's some tension in the room. We need to. And then I will say, what would you all like to do today? And then they usually say, I've been stressed. It's, year end. It's getting ready for budget. I'm like, yeah, I kind of felt that. So let's sit down today. And then there's other days you can tell, maybe it's the beginning of spring. It's our first warm day. Maybe there's no pollen. It's just rained. And you can tell when you walk in, there's an energy that's lifted. It's a little faster in vibration. It's a little higher. And we're about to work today. We're about to sweat. Let's get it. Mm-hmm. And you ask, what would you guys like to do today? Ooh, I'm feeling good, Althea. Let's get it. Yeah, so definitely a room can have energy. And I think once you get started with some of these exercises like Qigong, Tai Chi, a group meditation, yoga, even if it's a book discussion that is about a mindful practice and you all are talking about it, you can feel it in the room, just like you can feel tension. If there's been an argument in a room and you walk into it, you know it as soon as you walk in, something is off in this room, and you didn't witness the argument at all. You just feel the tension. That energy is palpable all the time. We're just normally not aware of it because we're so into our head and whatever it is we're personally going through.
This is obviously going to be a question that varies, and I get that, but traditionally, how many times per week should one practice yoga on the mat? On the mat.
Okay. This question has to do with the type of yoga that's done.
Okay.
And it has to do with the individual. If the yoga is more gentle, it's not stressful, it makes someone feel good, it could be done in the morning if there's time for it. It can be done in the evening if there's time for it. It could be done every day of the week if there's time for it. If trying to make that much time to do the practice causes stress, then no, you don't need to do it that much. If it causes mental stress, if it causes physical stress, no, it doesn't need to be done at that often, you know? Now let's talk about it physically. If it is a power yoga style, if it is little lightning bug right here, hey, a power yoga style, something that is, some of them are called like a yoga sculpt. You want to treat that the same way you would lifting weights and going to the gym.
Wow.
You don't want to do bicep curls with heavy weights 2 days in a row. You have to let the biceps heal. You give it a couple days rest. You might work triceps instead, right? Then
Correct.
you work legs, and then you come back to biceps. So I think a lot of it has to do with style, how it feels on you, how is your body recovering. We have to pay attention, but just typically it could be done every day. I do it every day. I teach at least 2 classes per day, and I have a meditation practice every morning.
So, I've got to go down that hole because I'm a big advocate of meditation. I think everybody, I wish it was mandatory. I think people should go to prison if they don't meditate.
Absolutely. So wonderful.
Talk to us about what meditation looks like to you.
I won't talk about what it looks like. I'll just tell you what I personally do and the change that it's made in my life. Going back to not trying. 2 years ago in March, out of the blue, started waking up at 4:30 in the morning. No alarm, no good reason for it. And I would pick up different books and just read different spiritual chapters or concepts in the different books. And then when I was done, I would just sit there and be quiet. And then after about a month, the books were done and I was getting up at 4:30 and I would just sit still and wait till the sun rose.
Wow.
And then it got warmer and I opened the door and I sat in the doorway on the patio and just watched the sunrise. And then the stars were out at 4:30. The sun would come up about 6 o'clock because, it's summertime down south. Now I could pull my chair outside the door because I knew some bat was not going to come get me. No owl was going to land in my head.
Right.
So, and I can see this in my mind's eye, just edging the chair out a little bit further through the kitchen door onto the deck where I'm sitting now. And when you sit there that long, I don't know if any of your people are backpackers, anyone who's listening has ever kind of, been out and done some trail walking at night. If you sit in one place long enough, you actually see the revolution of the earth. The star constellations, they move from over here to over there. The moon that was there is now over here. You see the sun rising. You literally see it. And that is how my meditation practice started. And then I would close my eyes and not look at the stars and not look at the moon and not look at the sun. And I would just feel what I felt and hear what came to me and start to know things, and became so intuitive. It was amazing. I can't speak for anyone else. I think we're all unique. I am a nature person. I'm an outdoorsy kind of chick. Animals try to talk to me. I can't understand them. I'm not Dr. Dolittle, but they do come and chat with me. And my meditation practice is about being out here in nature, moving with the vibrations of the earth. And that might sound new agey, but that's my reality. And it is every morning. It is in snow, yes. So when we had a little bit of snow here, I was out here. I come out in a blanket. I put on my hat. I have my scarf. Sometimes a little space heater, but I have to get out here. I have to breathe. I feel like I can't breathe if I'm inside of any place for too long.
And it sounds like morning is your time, right?
Sometimes night as well. I like coming out in the evening, but it's different. The feeling is different. Naturally, for me, I'm a morning person, so that 4:30, 5 o'clock time just kind of works for me. But at night, if there's not too much going on, I like to settle down, cup of tea, just sit out here and kind of rehash the day, compare it to what was happening in the morning.
So we've got a few minutes left, and I want to leave a couple of minutes to talk about some current events that you have going on. But I want to just go back to the lifestyle of yoga. Can you just highlight some things about diet, things that you kind of transition and start to eat? Because I would imagine a lot of things will change in your life once you start making it part of an everyday process. Can you touch on some of those other things that maybe people aren't thinking about right off the hand?
Absolutely. We talked in the beginning about how suddenly you are aware of how you feel. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that most people, when they eat, they don't pay attention to the fact that they're full and they stop and they push the plate away and they say no more. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm also going to go out on a limb and say that when most people eat, they're probably talking to someone else, reading a book, watching TV, or on the phone. Most people are not eating and paying attention to the taste, chewing, how much. Oh, you know what? I'm full. The mindfulness of yoga suddenly says, I'm full and I really don't want any more. Instead of the processed food that had a certain taste to you that was good before, you're suddenly aware that it really doesn't taste right. It tastes metallic. It tastes plastic. It has no taste. It feels greasy. It feels, something doesn't feel right. I personally am now vegetarian. That was part of that transition that happened for me in March 2 years ago. And I did it as a fast, a 12-day fast. And then when the fast was over, I just didn't feel like ever going back. And no one could have told me I was going to stop eating. What? No shrimp? No crab? You must be insane. And I'm not one of those vegetarians that says, ew, a shrimp, I can't eat it. Has this been fried in the same pan as... I'm not one of those people.
Right.
So if I do see some crawfish etouffee, I'm going to stick my fork in it and I'm going to eat it, and then I'm done with it. And I'm going to move on to something else because I kind of go with what I want. And my body just happens to want fruits and vegetables and things to be raw and crispy, lightly cooked, not overdone. I've always been only a water drinker. It's just the way I was brought up. My parents were athletes, so we didn't really drink soda and juices and stuff like that unless they were raw juices. So the only difference, which is interesting, is now I drink juice. I never liked juice before. Arden's Garden is my favorite juice.
They make the best orange juice in the world, by the way.
Something about their cold press juices, I don't like smoothies. I don't like thick shakes. Theirs, the bomb. And I don't like anybody else's. But now I juice, I fast. I find that fasting is very important. If you had told me before 2 years ago that I was going to fast on a regular basis, I would have told you were a liar. The devil is a liar. And I would have gone and had a chicken wing, but now, right. Fasting is really important. And my body is telling me when it needs to happen. I can feel it. My stomach, something is not right. And again, I think it's that awareness. So I don't know if it's just yoga. It could be the meditation. It could be that empathic energy thing. It could be connecting with earth and vibration. I think it's a combination of all of it for me. But most of the yoga practitioners and instructors that I connect with and we work together and that I teach, we all find ourselves on the same path, and we've never talked about it. It just is. It just is. And so when we go out to eat, we're all kind of getting a juice or a smoothie, or no, I'll just take a bottle of water and a kale salad. No one's trying to do that. It just is what it is.
And I'll sneak this in if I can. You talked about earlier where people were asking when you had your facility, is this, can I be a Christian to do this, or is this a Muslim or Hindu based? All that aside, do you feel like there still is a spiritualness about yoga that is not definable?
The answer is yes. Clarification, personally for me, I don't think religion and spirituality are the same thing.
Okay.
They are separate. Someone can choose not to be in an organized religion and be very spiritually connected. And someone can be in an organized religion, be very religious, and not be spiritually connected. So they are mutually exclusive.
Very true.
You can be both. You can be both, and I'll leave it right there. It has been an interesting journey to teach the spiritual, energetic elements of yoga to a class where I have a Muslim woman, a Hindi man, several Christian people, and that's how my classes are made up. It's really, really awesome. It's very interesting. And because we're talking about energy, we're not talking about deities, we're not talking about rules, we're not talking about God, Jah, Allah, Jehovah. We're not giving any names. We're simply talking about energy and connecting with your highest power, period. Whatever that looks like, whatever that feels like, that transcends organized religion. And I think it just is a matter of someone trying it. Once you try it, if it's a good, cohesive group and it's a good instructor, I think we've gone beyond the restrictions of any religion.
Althea, we have gone as far as time will permit for this wonderful topic. I know you could talk about yoga forever, and I could listen to you forever. But tell us, what do you have coming up? Do you have some retreats that you mentioned South Africa, and any workshops, seminars, symposiums, anything that people who will listen to this can come and find you and learn from you?
I'm going to give my website. It is my name, Althea, Lawton-Thompson.com. We just finished all of the winter sessions, the writers' workshops, the Amicalola Falls retreat, the chakra workshop, and now we'll be taking a break for the summer, and then I'll be starting up again in the fall. So all of the fall dates will be on the Althea, Lawton-Thompson.com website. And my second book, 20, will be out next month. 20 is the 20 most important lessons I've learned in 20 years as an entrepreneur.
Wow. That's got to be some serious lessons. And I'm curious, you taking the summer off, is that just because summer kids kind of thing? Or is there
because my older son is going to college.
Okay, gotcha.
So we'll be doing some traveling, and I am going to be getting certified by the National Organization or Outdoor Leadership School. So I'm going to do a 10-day outdoor backpacking trip in the Pacific Northwest. I'll be out in Washington State, and y'all pray for me. Hopefully I'll be back in one piece. So doing some personal stuff, and then we'll be back and kicking it off and sharing that energy with everyone else beginning in September.
Well, super congrats to all of your success, and absolutely congrats to your son who's going to college. What college, by the way?
He will be at Butler University in Indianapolis.
Go Butler.
Yep.
My daughter is graduating as well. She actually is in Tallahassee, and she's going to New Orleans.
Wonderful.
University of New Orleans.
Congratulations. See, I knew our energy. We were sharing energy.
It's a reason.
Yes.
Last but not least, I want to just thank you once again, and thank everybody who's listening to this, both live as well as the replay, which we'll have up in segments and in part the whole thing. You guys can follow this on my website at clarkgarrison.com. And of course, that's spelled just like it says here, KLARQUE, garrison.com. You can go to our YouTube channel to see the full edited versions that we'll be putting out, and that's simply YouTube.com/Clark Garrison. So everything's consistent. Coming up next, is another, it just so happens to be Fam Ewan. I didn't plan it this way, but a very dear friend of mine, Manifest Raw, is going to be in the building. We're going to be talking about Tai Chi and life balance. So I'm very stoked about that. And then after that, and by the way, check the website out for the dates. After that, we're going to have a young lady that I'm just being introduced to that's going to come on. She's out in California. She's going to talk about feng shui and how that can increase your energy flow of your home and you within it. So some wonderful shows coming up. We're not at the end of the month yet, so we're going to kind of cram them all in. But thank you so much again, Althea, and thank you
for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Namaste.
And stop broadcast.